chicken organic burrito, the only one in existence. Certified organic right there. Certified organic.
I buy organic because I think that it could improve my health.
I can absolutely tell the difference in my body. I don't feel well when I eat non-organic.
I think one of the main reasons I did was that I got cancer about 10 years ago, and so I have been trying to eat as well as I possibly can, not knowing, whether that's the answer or not, but I know that it will help to keep my immune system strong. It's not to have the herbicides.
I believe that we should do that so we can save the planet, so we don't use a lot of chemicals and things like that in our production of food.
I'm real careful at the farmers market when I go there, and to go to the farmers I know that don't use pesticides. And
seems more the right way to be a human being.
My name is Rachel Morgan. I grew up on a biodynamic farm in northern Minnesota. When I moved down to Minneapolis, I wanted to keep eating organically. And I began to question, which food is really organic?
Maybe certified organic is when someone says there aren't any pesticides, anything that's put in the soil that's not natural.
I would understand certified to mean, for right or wrong, that some government agency has some kind of standards governing that.
Because if you know, you know.
My name is Brenda Rogers, and I work for the Minnesota Crop Improvement Association. I am the manager of organic services and also a field supervisor. We do seed certification and a lot of private work, plus the organic certification. I act as an inspector for a number of operations in the northern part of Minnesota, and in addition sit on the certification committee for most of those operations that aren't located here. We do a lot of processors as well as the farm certification. The National Organic Program requires that operations are inspected annually, and with a farm operation we need to be there during the growing season so we can see the condition of the crop.
We have to keep a lot of documentation.
A lot of record keeping, a lot of paperwork. We have to just maintain field logs.
When the inspector comes in, he looks at the sales slip log. He picks out probably a bulk feed.
Basically keep track of every litter, when they're born, so we can track when they're sold.
And he picks out a sales slip with at least one bagged feed, maybe more, and seed, because we also sell for planting.
If we're going from a transition field to an organic field, we have to document that we've cleaned our equipment. And
we just record everything and then put it all together, send it off to a certifier.
We have to keep track of everything they're fed.
You have to have a rotation plan. You have to have a plan for what you're doing.
If we happen to treat them for any kind of illness, that has to be written down.
Every batch of feed, a sample of that feed is kept, and periodically some of that feed is also analyzed.
And then we have to have all our paperwork ready for them to inspect, any of our feed records, any of our cell sheets.
And they look it over, send the inspector out to verify it is what we say it is, and we pay their fees and become certified. So
we audit their records and their crop, and then we write an inspection report. They get a copy of that report, and then it goes to the main office where they pull together a certification committee to go through all the documentation. The certification committee goes through and finds any problems with it, and they work back and forth with the farmer to get whatever documentation or whatever else it is that they need, and then it moves on to our final certifier, who's our general manager, and she makes sure that everything has been completed and they've met all the regulations, and then they're issued certification.
Oh wow, that's
It's a complicated process, it is.
In a 45-mile radius of Wadena, there are now over 20 certified organic farms. 10 more are in the 3-year transition to organic.
I've been learning how to garden organically since 1972 when we moved to Minnesota.
I always wanted to farm organically from the time I was a small child.
We farmed conventional for 8 years, and we switched to organic farming.
We started growing cash crops right from the beginning, raising small grain and dry beans.
We started out with 27 sows, and we're now up to somewhere in the 50s. We're planning on getting a little bit larger, but not anywhere near 1,000 or 5,000 like a lot of the conventional farms.
I believe that if there's a way you can do anything that is as natural and imitates nature as closely as possible, that it is going to be A, sustainable, and B, healthier for the people that benefit from what you grow, as well as the land in which you grow the food on.
My opinion, it's a better way to farm without chemicals, and the economics work a whole lot better.
When we're raising the hogs organically, we have a stable price. It's not a fluctuating price like the conventional market is. And that's really nice. It's easier to plan your paychecks, especially.
Conventional farming is just not real economical at this point, and we were struggling to make it. And so we decided we had to do a change of some sort.
So we felt that we farmed enough acres that it would pay okay on an organic status. It was a fair-sized farm, but in the conventional world it was getting to be too small a farm to be able to make it.
Probably when we started out we were probably 20% organic and 80% transitional, and now we're probably closer to that 65-70% organic at this time, and so we're bringing new people on all the time that are doing their transition, especially with the expansion in the dairy and the poultry and swine.
Initially, the grain comes in and it gets a scale ticket number, and then it goes into a bin. And then we bring grain from several bins, put it into the feed. When we do that, that gets another tracking number. Feed recipe is put on a sheet of paper, and every grain that's in it is listed with a lot number.
So we can trace it both ways. We could, if you call me with, or if he calls me with a bag of chicken feed, and he says it's got something in there I don't like, I can tell him when it was manufactured and whose grain is in that feed, or what farm it came off. And then this is all bag feed, and they've all got labels on them. They're either marked transitional or organic. And then what they do is seven of these bins here, and they all hold about 1,000 bushels each, which is lots of grain. Hold about a semi-load. And then this is what they mix into the weigh carts, and then it goes through the grinder. This is soybean meal here. Right now on the back, go ahead. All the different ingredients go into, it's a big mixer is what it is, like your mixer at home. It's drawn up real fine.
On organic farms, like Wes and Sue Benjamin's, crop rotations are very important. Last year, this field of corn was planted to dark red kidney beans. Organic standards require a 30-foot buffer between certified organic and chemical input crops. Pollen drift from Roundup-ready corn across the road creates an additional problem. To prevent cross-contamination, Wes plants his corn several weeks later than his neighbors. Therefore, the GMO corn releases its pollen well before Wes's starts to tassel.
We farm approximately 950 acres of organically. The chemicals, what it does to the land and also to your own body, when you start the research and you find out what the chemicals are actually doing, organics is the way to go.
Organic land is more of a buffered land. It doesn't take things in extreme measures. Things are slow, but they give back slow. It's different in that respect. It's building humus, and humus is a very part of the soil structure. I like to call it my rebar and my cement. If you have no rebar, you have no cement.
If you have dead soil, it will not produce for you, and then your land becomes barren. In a conventional, it kills everything. The way they keep their fields clean is there just is nothing living in it. So if you can bring it all back to life and everything can live and flourish, and that's what sustains life in itself.
I get up at a little after 6 and we start milking at about 6:45.
We dip them and wipe them and put the milkers on, and then we dip them again when we're done.
Well, the milk obviously starts out as grass. We pasture and we supplement pastures with some grain, and then milk the cows. The milk truck comes every other day. There's actually 15 farms what he picks up that goes into the truck. Then it gets hauled to Schroeder Dairy in Minneapolis, and it's processed there under the Organic Valley label. I was basically born into farming. I was dairy farming with my brother until just about 2 years ago. We started with pigs.
I started farming when we got married, which is about 2 years ago.
The animals have a lot more freedom than a confinement type setup. They get to see the sun and the moon and everything, you know. They have free choice grass and free choice pasture, which is alfalfa mainly. And there's some grasses in there.
And they get a grain supplement also, and that varies depending on what's available.
And then they get weaned at about 6-7 weeks. Then they go out on pasture when they get big enough to utilize it. And usually by the time they're 7 months old, they're ready to go to market.
Crop Cooperative is actually who we sell to. Organic Prairie is the marketing label. Similar to Organic Valley would be the dairy. Organic Prairie is the meat line of Crop. We like to say they're happier. You see them running around on pasture, and it's just fun to watch. It's the way we've always farmed.
Everything that we raise on the farm is sold locally and directly to the consumer. And so we have that direct relationship with the people that buy our products. We raise, have a cow-calf herd, and then those calves are raised up to and finished on the farm and then sold as meat. And then there's also a CSA that's on the farm. There are great environmental benefits from farming organically. Basically, if it took 150 years to degrade the soils in the upper Midwest, it's going to take possibly that long to build the soils and build the environment back up. I've noticed that as the soil improves, the health of the animals has a corresponding improvement. I've also noticed a recycling of nutrients on the farm so that my inputs are quite low. On this pasture here, the topsoil, when I started farming this ground, was about 2 inches of topsoil. And over the past 14 years, that topsoil has grown to where it's about 14 to 15 inches deep now. And that's due to using keeping the mineral balance in the soil, keeping the base minerals like lime, potash, magnesium brought up to what the soil can hold, and then using the biodynamic sprays. So years ago I planted this part of the field, all the sandy area, into warm season prairie grasses. Now they're quite short this year because we're in a severe drought. But these warm season prairie grasses, like the sand blue stem, has roots that go down into the ground 8 to 10 feet. Research was done in the early 1990s that showed that an acre of warm season prairie grasses that are alternately grazed and burned, doing prescribed burnings on the land, takes 2.5 times the amount of carbon dioxide out of the air as an adjoining acre of forest land. Starting to draw these frames out. See? They're just making wax, and they're drawing those frames out to fill them up with honey.
What we have is a CSA, and it's called Lakes and Valley CSA. We grow for about 100 families, vegetables in season, so it's like an overgrown home garden. Everything we raise is raised and sold only to members of the CSA. We grow over 100 varieties of vegetables, so we don't grow like the typical grocery store iceberg lettuce. We grow lettuce, leaf lettuce, and that it's speckled and bright red and bright green and heirloom varieties that you just cannot buy any place unless you get them from like a CSA farm or a farm that specializes in really, different kind of produce. This garden is not certified organic. We used to be certified organic when we were selling on the open market, so to speak. But once we started the CSA members know us. They can ask questions. They can come anytime. And we found, because we're selling to a closed specific group of people, and that's the only people we sell to, that we don't need third-party certification, to spend the money, I guess, on third-party certification. Every fall, my husband decides what parts of the garden need to be put back into rest. So once he decides how many square feet we have, I figure out how many shares we can raise. and then I calculate the expenses of raising those vegetables and divide those two numbers and come up with the price per share, and then we go back to our members and say this is what it'll cost to raise your vegetables next year. In this garden we're actually striving for something which is a higher order of organic, which is called biodynamic. And in biodynamics, you look at the earth as an actual living being and all the plants that grow in a very symbiotic relationship. So we try and have an environment where we look at the whole garden with the landscape, the trees behind it, and the plants that are growing, assisting the forces that come down from the sky and up from the earth. So it's, as healthy as possible for life. We have quite a few members that are recovering from cancer, and what they have found is that by eating the biodynamic produce over a couple years, that they notice they tell me that they believe it's helping them get well or get better or get stronger. And it really makes it feel like you're doing something really special. If it's at all possible, everybody should buy locally, whether it's for one meal a day or one dish for one meal a day. It's just really important that dollar circulates. For every dollar you spend locally, it circulates 8 times within your local community. And that's an economic benefit you just can't pass up.
Okay, thanks.
All right, see you later.
The connection you can make, and you can eat in season, and you can say, wow, I know that farmer, I know that grower, and I can get this amazing food. And if you eat winter squash in the fall, and you eat spinach in the spring, and you live within the seasons, you're more connected to the earth and what's really happening. And I think that's a really good thing for your soul to do that.
While there was rain, my home had snow. That's what I was told. 6 inches of ground.
Certified organic.
That's just like
The certified organic seal tells me a farmer and a processor met strict organic standards in producing this product. No synthetic pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers are used in growing the crops. No growth hormones or antibiotics found in the meat. I can also be sure I am buying organic if I know the farmer who raises my produce. I care about my health and the environment, and so do organic farmers. They care about the future and their livelihoods. How I spend my food dollar determines how Minnesota families farm the land now, and how they will farm in the future. For all of us.
just like my home. I'm always there, but I am right here, made for you, my dear. So please just give it time, and I will too. That is what I will do.